Christine Persichetti. President Biden is calling them his highest priority. The more than 200 people held hostage by Hamas. But now he's back at the White House, and they're still far from home. Current News' Katie Vasquez tells us no one knows where the hostages are, but the world has seen their faces. Katie.
Yes, Christine, that's because posters of the missing are being put up all across the globe and throughout New York City on streetlights, walls, trees. It's not just a way to raise awareness, it's a plea for peace. These posters line nearly every corner of New York City. The faces of hundreds of Israelis kidnapped by Hamas, some as young as 9 months old.
We know some of the people's families. A lot of them, actually. There is no one Israeli that doesn't know someone today. The entire Jewish community got hit dramatically.
In September, Israeli citizens Nitzan Mintz and Didi Band-Aid arrived in New York for a 3-month artist residency. About halfway through their stay, they heard troubling news from home.
From my parents saying that the entire country is like full with rockets all over the place, like falling from the sky.
The pair felt helpless being hundreds of miles away, so they decided to use their talents to put a face to the hundreds affected by the conflict.
They have to see their eyes, they have to see to understand it's real person disappeared.
On the first day of the project, they printed 2,000 missing person posters and found many people hesitant to interact with the art.
People were very suspicious.
Disappointed but determined, they uploaded the posters to a website, kidnappedfromisrael.com, and immediately noticed a shift.
Completely different. When we woke up, the streets of Manhattan were filled with posters.
Soon they realized it wasn't just New York taking part.
It spread not only to other cities in the US, but worldwide. It got to Europe, to the Far East, to South America, to Africa.
Nitzan and Didi estimate some 45,000 posters are downloaded a day.
So beautiful, those people.
It's their hope that with the world's help, these missing Israelis may be able to come home safe and sound. But almost as soon as they went up, many of the posters were torn down, becoming the latest front in the Israel versus Palestine battle. Christine?
Thanks, Katie. The U.S. is weighing in on the Christian hospital that was struck Tuesday. And experts say there's evidence it was a Palestinian rocket that killed more than 400 people. The U.S. National Security Council said it analyzed overhead imagery, intercepts, and open source information, all suggesting the rocket was launched by the Palestinian Islamic jihad group, armed militants often aligned with Hamas. This they still deny. But how many rockets have misfired in Gaza? According to the FDD, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, the Islamic Jihad group has a long record of friendly fire. During the most recent clashes in the summer of 2022, 1,100 rockets were launched and 200 malfunctioned. That's nearly 20% of missed targets. The hospital, part of the Diocese of Jerusalem, is Gaza's oldest. The Catholic Near East Welfare Association, a papal agency headquartered in New York, has long supported its work and considered it a safe haven.
Anything that is identified as Christian is considered a sanctuary and relatively safe. The Israelis know every Christian institution. The IDF knows where every institution is. And all Palestinians who live there know where the Christian institutions are. And so as a result of that, there's a belief that they're secure, that they're safe.
Despite the blast destroying some wards, it has continued to remain opened. With protesters around the world demanding a ceasefire and the Pope calling for a day of prayer, the Diocese of Brooklyn and Bishop Robert Brennan will be celebrating a Mass for Peace next Friday, October 27th. It is open to the public and will begin with a holy hour at 11 o'clock at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James. Noon Mass will follow. If you can't make it, you can watch it live right here on Net TV. Finally tonight, we are going back in time to a fire that changed New York City and the world. More than a century later, there's now a memorial that marks the place so many young women lost their lives. Currents News' Katie Vasquez has the story from Greenwich Village.
A ladder raised in memorial. A testament to one of the worst fires in New York City history.
These girls were doomed.
Relatives of the victims gathered in Greenwich Village to remember the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory tragedy. March 25th, 1911, hundreds of immigrant girls and women were toiling away at sewing machines for hours when a fire broke out on the upper floors.
Her hair was on fire, her clothes were on fire, the panic, the smoke, the flames.
The Jewish and Italian immigrants tried to escape, but the doors were locked. Dozens leapt to their deaths.
Every time I see those pictures of the bodies laying on the sidewalk, it just makes me, really gets to me. It makes me upset.
146 workers died by the time it was all over. Their deaths marked the beginning of the labor movement's fight for workplace safety protections.
I'm glad that maybe this was a catalyst for all the unions and all of that. But I want people to remember these women that died. They were just working to make a buck.
112 years later, their sacrifice is now a memorial. Horizontal stainless steel plates run along the building. It has their names, ages, and their testimonies.
There's her name there.
Lumiano found his great-aunt's name, Santina Salemi, in the memorial. She was just 24 years old.
So instead of fleeing, Santina stayed with her best friend, and they both perished from smoke inhalation.
Santina's sister Francesca survived the horror that day.
And she made a sacred vow to the Blessed Mother that if she could survive the fire, she'd devote her life to God. The next thing she knew, she was up on the roof being led to safety.
She stuck with her promise, taking her vows as Sister Mary Albertina 2 years later.
She remained with the sisters till her death in 1941.
She's just one of the dozens of stories that are now part of New York City history, forever embroidered in the fabric in time. In Greenwich Village, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
What a beautiful memorial. And before we go, do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.